Welcome to Right to Rise. We went live today with one of my very good friends and an author that came through at a very special time in my life. And I'm so grateful to be sitting with you, Darcie. Thank you for coming today and
Yeah.
being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to talk to you again. It's been a while, and I'm excited to be here on Substack with you.
People joining in. So I'll kind of, Lisa, thank you for joining. We're excited to have you. Anybody joining, if you have any questions, just pop them into the live chat so that we can get those addressed. And Darcie and I are going to talk about writing and her book and all the things that she is getting into lately and her whole process. So Lisa, if you have any questions and the ones popping on, if y'all have any questions, just pop them in the chat for us. We'll be watching that. So, well, Darcie, I'm so grateful that this worked out for our schedules today.
Yeah, we've been
And
trying to do it for so long.
yeah, yeah. So I think you keep coming to my mind. For anybody who is joining, Darcie came into my program, gosh, about a year and a half ago. With a
Yeah.
dream to write a book. You were already nurse coaching, but you wanted to write a book. And I had just started my program at that time. I didn't have anything built out. I think you were my first. Um, and since then, you've published not one, but two books. You've created an online course. You've created a book club. And then you're expanding on the work that you were already doing as a nurse coach with your retreats. And so today we're going to be talking about all her lovely work in nurse coaching and what has evolved for her in stepping away from traditional medicine. So we'll get into that. But Darcie, tell them a little bit, for those of them that may not know about you, what do you do for work and where are you located? And
Yeah. My name is Darcie, as Leslie said, and I am a nurse coach. I've been a nurse for now over 20 years and worked so many different nursing jobs and kind of came to a point in my career where I really was craving deeper connection with people, which was always the part of nursing that I loved. And I found nurse coaching and began doing nurse coaching, and I'm really drawn to nervous system work, so that's a big focus of the work that I do with clients. And Leslie and I had a mutual friend who knew about her desire to create this incredible program that she has for helping people write books, and put us in touch. And I had this book brewing for so long, and it was just like a meant to be sort of thing to meet Leslie and have the accountability and support to go through the process of putting all these ideas and thoughts together into a book that really supported the practice that I have with clients, because having that down on paper for people to use as a touchstone, for clients to read, and now for these groups that I've created for book club and other groups, it was just such a perfect process. And we'll get into this, I'm sure, more deeply, and I know Leslie talks about this a lot, but you never know what you're getting into when you write a book. And I feel like as in my career as a nurse, I did a lot of education. I was a nurse educator. I worked at the university. And so I'm a natural teacher. And so that's what I wanted to do in the book. And Leslie was like, no, you have to put your story in there. You have to draw people in with your story. That makes it interesting. You can't just teach. So I think that, having her guidance made it so much more powerful. And I just love the way that the book turned out, because it's all it flows with the personal stories, the client stories, the teaching, poetry. It's all kind of melded together, and that would not have happened without your guidance and kind of keeping me in line and saying, no, it doesn't work. That's not going to work like that. let's take a different a different way. So anyway, it was just meant to be. And I kind of had this timeline in my mind of when I wanted to be done with the book, because I was moving, and that really pushed me. And having you to reach out to whenever I needed it was just so important in that whole process.
Yeah, thank you for, gosh, I did not expect that. Um, yeah, I think that so many women have the goal of writing books, and we have this direction that we want to go. And I think for me, it was just seeing like we are already in the age of information, right? Like you can Google anything and get information. So think for readers these days, the humanness in a book is what draws them. And so that was what I was really trying. And that's what I do with most of my authors is like, yeah, we can teach these things, but what can you offer in your book that they can't get from ChatGPT? And I don't even think AI was like a thing when we were starting your book. So it wasn't,
I know, it's so
it,
crazy to think about because it wasn't that
yeah.
long ago, but
Right. So I don't think either one of us were there, but it was really like, how can you bring more humanness? And I don't know if this is just like my brain, but as nurse coaches, we're all teaching people to like unplug, get more, sunshine, get out in nature more, get away from phones and screens. And then we're handing them more digital products. So I just love that, like, you had that vision too. Like, let's give somebody something tangible that they can read when they're sitting under a tree, or a practice that they can take with them, and an extension of myself. So I do think it became so much more of a powerful book when you started to open open up. Your poetry landed there. I didn't even know that you wrote poetry, and some of the most beautiful pieces and moments in the book are that pause for reflection on the poetry that you wrote. So yeah, I love that. And the book is written seasonally, which it was such a different book for me. And I think I mentioned to you just recently, we just went to Japan. And I'm obsessed with everything Japanese now, but I just finished reading Wabi Sabi, which is also talking about the importance of the seasons and your practices changing. And that's something that
I think you're still there, even though you
okay.
suddenly got darker.
Okay, hold on. Uh-oh.
Battery dying or something?
I don't know. Let's
I
see.
can I can still see you, and it still says that it's recording.
Oh, we were covered.
Yes, but you're right. And I think you just spoke to that idea of like helping people slow down. And that was part of the idea that I wanted to carry out in the book, was having that seasonal aspect of nature. Because yes, it's so easy to, maybe go for a walk in the park, and while we're walking, like plan out our day, or, plan what we're going to have for dinner, and multitask while we're engaging with nature. And I wanted this book to be more of an invitation to go deeper and to really think about the land that we're on, our connection to it, our ancestors and where they may have originated from, the peoples that the indigenous peoples that live on the land where we are, or lived on the land where we are, so all those different layers, and to slow it down enough to be present with the season that is happening in the land. Because light affects us. I'm feeling that so much right now when we're almost at the summer solstice. And I have always been affected by seasons. And so it was natural to write about that. And then with the somatic and nervous system work that I do, kind of tying in those practices and offering some of those in the book, so that people can do that work on their own and begin to notice their bodies and begin to notice how the seasons affect them. And it's been so wonderful to hear the responses of the readers, because I've gotten so many comments like, I never thought about that, or I never knew about this animal that is on the land here, and when it was spawning season, or all these different comments. And then for some people it's been truly transformational because of just this realization that there is this deep part of us that hasn't been domesticated, that is nature. And when we're able to tap into that and really feel that in our body, it can change our lives and bring a lot of peace, and also a lot of wildness. And so helping people with that process has been really, really rewarding. And it's interesting because I live in Alaska, and I live very close to nature. And so some of this, when I was writing the book, I often thought, well, is this going to touch people? Is this going to reach people? And I think something, if you are writing a book or wanting to write a book, knowing that your story will touch people, it will reach the people that it's meant to reach, because so there's something in your story that is relatable. So letting that be true, because there were a lot of things that I just embraced, and that Leslie would say, well, just write it, and it's going to touch someone. And I would think, I don't even know if I should put this in here. And then to get people's comments back like, wow, that sentence or the way you said that changed my life. I never looked at things that way. I never thought of myself as being part of nature, or whatever it was for them that they were able to align with in the book. So it was really eye-opening in that way, to realize that when we are brave and we commit to putting out into the world our own passion and what pulls us, it reaches other people and empowers them. So the whole process of putting this out into the world has been really eye-opening in that way.
Yeah, I love so much of what you're talking about. And I don't think that I ever understood the true power of nature and our seasons and being connected to nature until I moved to Alaska. You really have to pay attention to that there. It forces you to understand that on some level, and you do reconnect with that primal calling, and those primal cycles, I guess. So it is more than just your circadian rhythm. It is more than just your hormonal cycle. It is also that we are moving in a rhythm with nature. So, and I love that aspect of your book. It just, and something that you just naturally have leaned into, from listening to yourself and your environment around you. And I think there was so much in that. I think for me, just watching you grow through the process was massive, and so I think we are both sort of similar in the fact that we've spoke about this earlier. We identified as introverts or a little bit more reserved humans, and have come to the realization that maybe we're not actually introverted. Maybe that was a self-protection mechanism for us. And the writing process has really helped us to see that and expand on that. And I'm curious to hear more about that from your perspective.
Yeah. I think that's so true. I think that for me, a lot of the somatic and nervous system work that I did personally with other therapists or coaches helped with that as well, because I have, and I know, now I know where some of those things came from, but I have had that tendency to be more reserved, stand in the background, be more observant, and not be the center of attention. That just doesn't tend to feel comfortable for me. And it still doesn't feel super comfortable. But it's gotten more comfortable. And I did have to face that when I was lecturing or teaching in a university setting. So, there have been different steps to working my way through that. And I think that what I was touching on before, saying like, no one's going to be able to relate to this. Why would I even publish this? This is not something that's worth publishing. I think those thoughts fall into that same category of protecting us. And, that is such a strong urge that our bodies or our nervous systems have, is protection, keeping us safe. And so I think that just the act of writing in itself and getting those thoughts and that creativity, tapping into that place where you can be creative in the first place, takes a level of safety in the body to even get there. So I think that's maybe the first step, is tapping into that ability to be creative. And then the next level, right, is sharing it. And that takes a certain level of vulnerability and a certain level of, knowing that some people are not going to like it. Some people are not going to relate to it. Some people are going to think it's horrible. And those aren't your people. And that's okay. Other people are going to love it. And so, coming to working through those different layers and knowing that sharing your medicine with the world and with your readers who do resonate with you is going to change someone's life. Even if it's just one person, it is worth it. It's worth putting yourself out there. It's worth writing. It's worth writing a book or writing on Substack, whatever it may be. And it's also worth it, even if that person whose life has changed is only yours, because writing in itself is so cathartic. And so maybe that one life is your life, and you're just getting to that place where you can share what's inside of you.
Yeah, and I think that they're also, I mean, the phrase, walk the walk. I think that people can really see that in you, and they know when you're teaching something from a place of aligned, grounded, something that you actually practice and something that you haven't practiced. And you actually use a lot of writing exercises in your coaching, which is a theme through, you offer these writing practices and these reflection practices throughout the book. But I think my point here is that even though somebody hasn't given you that feedback or that review or, told you how much their life has changed, they may still have you may still have had a huge impact on them, and sometimes without them even knowing it. I think going back to you talking about sharing your story, when you share those vulnerable parts of your story, it just gives permission to other women to share that. It's a quiet, like, hey, you can share this too. So what do you feel like was the most healing part of writing a book and publishing the book?
I really think it's what we were just talking about, that learning to come to terms with it's safe. And, what I mean by that is a deeper safety, like safety in the nervous system, safety in the body. It's safe to be seen, because that has been a long-term challenge that I've had. And, so getting to the point where, maybe you were the first one who was reading my writing, and then I let my husband read it, and then I had an editor read it. But having other people see my writing, and then having it, getting to the point where I felt like I could put it out there. And then I also think what you were talking about with kind of walking the walk, I don't have any desire to be seen as someone who has it all together. Like, I am very vulnerable with sharing like what's going on in my life. Like, I got so frustrated with my kids this morning, or I had a fight with my husband, or whatever it is. Like, I am sharing that stuff, and I am sharing how I made it through. And I also share client stories in this book. And like, we are all human. We all go through these ruptures, these repairs, these different states in our nervous system. And our nervous system is not designed to stay in a Zen perfect stable state all the time. Like it's designed to go up and down fluidly. And that's what we're going for. We're not going for being Zen. And, so I share that. And I think that is, something that's been healing too, is being seen in that way, like being seen as, I've had people say, oh, you're a coach. Well, you probably don't have a coach because you have it so together that you don't need that. And I'm like, no way. We're always working on ourselves, no matter where we are in the process. And, so being okay with sharing that vulnerability, being okay with having it all out on the table. And, and also knowing that when you are writing a book, and when I wrote this book, like you don't have to share everything. You can share your version of it. You can share what you want to share, what you feel comfortable sharing in that moment. And your book is not you. You can have some remove from it. You have your private life. You have what you're willing to share and what you're not willing to share. And maybe if I wrote the same book now, it would be different because maybe my level of ability to share has increased because I've done more writing and more work on that. But I just think it's important to recognize that we are not our writing. We are ourselves still, and we don't have to put it all out there. We can share what feels safe to share in that moment. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is one of the things, some of the feedback that I get from people is, it's just not the right time. I'm not ready to go there. Or when they're in the writing process, they're like, I'm not sure that I want to share this story because I don't want to hurt my mom, or I don't want to hurt my loved one, or I don't want my kids to read this. And that is such a powerful, I think that there is a way and to write about your perspective and what you were feeling in a way that doesn't hurt them, but brings awareness to what you were going through and how that shaped you, or how that shaped the work that you are doing, or the perspectives that you have. There's, and like you said, you don't have to tell the whole thing. It's just like, what about this particular story changed the way that you move through life, or what was the lesson in it that made you stop and break that pattern? It doesn't have to be the full, let's get deep, dark, into this story. Like you can share what you feel called to share. And like you said, it does happen. Books are, I think the idea is that they're just, once they're out there, but they're living, breathing work. It's art. It can be changed. You can add, layers to it. You can put another version out there if you want to come back and edit it. Like, it can always be changed and modified and added to or taken away. And that's very true. I think that people, it's art. Writing is art. It's fluid. So it's an art.
And I think, you touched on that with saying that I add writing into a lot of the work I do with clients. And I just love that connection with, like I spoke about before, creativity, like tapping into that place where we can be creative, whether that's journaling, whether that is artwork of some sort. I do a whole retreat that is really based on creativity and getting into that space, because when we are in that space of being able to be creative, our nervous system feels safe. And when our nervous system feels safe, we can do some really deep healing without necessarily having it be big and dramatic and painful. It can be more play-based and creative-based. So I love using creative tools, and I say that from a place of, like, I don't call myself an artist, but anyone can be creative. You don't have to be a artist, so to speak. And I just feel like that kind of work is available to everyone, and it's such a powerful healing tool that is often overlooked. So I just love using creativity to tap into that.
Yeah, and you're talking about creativity, but like playfulness. Like I think so many women have been, we have to act right, we have to say the right thing, we have to do this, but there is so much power in play, and I that is when I have a lot of people ask me, how do you tap into this creativity regularly or get into this space? I take my dog to the park and go slide. I do sticker art. I am constantly yesterday I put on a workout video from the 90s that I used to love and just like, you know, did a workout video from the 90s that I love. And I was laughing the whole time.
I
It
love
just wasn't serious, but what births from that joy is pure creativity, and you start like reconnecting with these parts of yourself that have been buried or hidden. So I love that you're talking about not only the creative process, but I do think that as women, we deny ourselves joy and, fun and silliness. And when we can get in those mindsets, that's really where the magic is. So,
Mhm.
love
Yeah,
that.
I think you're so right about that.
Yeah. So talk about, okay, we wrote the book Reconnecting with the Wild Within, and as this is coming through, I'm like, Darcie, there's two things here. So your book actually became a book as well as a companion journal.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I'm so glad that you were able to see that because, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of teaching in the book. And
yeah,
so with the teaching, with the journal prompts and all of that deeper work, it was perfect to have a place to hold that. So having the companion journal, I actually have both the book is right here, and then the companion journal right here. And it just has, it has the prompts. I don't know if you can see it in here, but it has the prompts and
beautiful.
space on each page to write them out and to really dive deep. And having both of those to support the work has been just really lovely for people to engage.
So that was my next question. So now your offers have changed a little bit. You've got a book club. You're still running the retreats in Alaska. You've still got the nurse coaching, but you've really incorporated this book as different offerings for so people can actually access, the healing and the coaching that you do on different touch points. And it's just absolutely brilliant. But so what have you kind of dreamed up since the
Yeah.
publishing? Yeah.
Yeah, great questions. And I didn't see this when I first talked to you and told me how a book is going to change your business and it will change the way you do your business. And I really didn't see that. And it's been interesting to watch how my business has morphed over time. But I really love having the book to send to clients who, I work with a lot of clients online. So we're not out at the beach, like doing a session on a
Yeah.
walk or, we're doing it over Zoom. And so I have this book to send to them that really gives them real time exercises that they can do on the land where they live and engage with nature there where they live. So, we'll do some of the deeper work over Zoom, and then they have this resource to dive even deeper on their own. And it follows the course of a year. So even I do work with a lot of people for a year or more, but even if we work together for a shorter amount of time, they have this resource to continue the work on their own. So I just love that. So it really, you were right that it has changed the way my business is run. And then I added in this year, I published the book in the spring with you, so about a year ago. And then in the fall, in September, I started a book club. So a year-long book club. We meet once a month and just dive deep on the concepts in the book, and it's been so powerful for the people that have been in the book group. And quite a few of them are coming to my next retreat, which is in July. So that's so fun they'll get to meet in person and give each other hugs and then just like really reconnect in nature in person. So that has been so fun to watch their journey over this year. It's almost been a year. It'll be a year in September. And just seeing the transformation that some of these people have gone through just by reading the book and doing a once a month book club. It's like, wow, I just didn't know how much impact it could have. So that's been really good. And then, so I'm starting the next cohort of the book club in September. And I'm actually starting also, I'm offering a book club facilitator training for some of the women who have really loved the book club, who went through this year and want to do book clubs in their own area with the Reconnect to the Wild book. So helping people in their own communities tap into this knowledge within themselves and reconnect to their body, reconnect to the nature around them. So I'm super excited about that offering as well.
Yeah, it really is magic to watch you expand. And I think that's what's so, I don't teach people to focus on being a bestseller. That is something that they come to me. I think we even had this conversation, really deconstructing like what is the goal of the book. And when I got into like your actual goals behind it, I was like, well, you don't need a bestseller anyway, and
Yeah.
really this came from like studying so many authors and realizing like I actually had gone through Dave Ramsey. I know I talk about this all the time, but I went through his program early in my 20s. And I remember being exposed to it from my church group at the time, that's a whole different thing. But I didn't realize that he did this exactly the same way you are doing it. He wrote a book, Financial Peace, and then he started teaching it in his community. And then he had people that did book clubs and started teaching it. And that's how his whole business has grown through the years, basically organically, and then he just added another piece to it. So, this is the magic of just like spreading your word and your work and people getting exposure to it and seeing the real life transformation that can happen through not reading a book, but practicing the book, and holding space for the practices within the book and reflecting on what is in the book. And this is such a beautiful expansion that I didn't even see coming. I did not know where you were going to go with this.
Yeah,
I did know at the time that you were a little bit, we were both a little bit introverted. I'm like, how are we going to do this? But just to see the natural progression and expansion is really beautiful.
Yeah. I think that's a great point to remember, that you just don't know what's coming next. So if you have that seed inside you that wants to create something, following that and doing it and then seeing what unfolds from that. Maybe it's just that thing. Maybe it's just putting that out into the world, or maybe that will become something else and it'll unfold. So it's been really lovely. The logo of my business is a fiddlehead fern and a fern frond. And so I just see that, and this book is kind of like that fiddlehead fern, like opening up and kind of going from that contracted place and opening into this expanded space. And that's the vision that I hold clients as well. Just being able to expand into full potential. And I think that as time goes on, my book and all of your clients' books kind of do that. You start from this place where you don't quite know what you're getting into when you sign up with Leslie, and then you get to expand, and it's quite a journey.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I've worked with mentors. I love that you're talking about this because the process for me, I'm also a nurse coach. So writing is not just like, I'm not just a publisher. Like, I try to help you see it as a healing journey and an expansive journey for you so that you can step into that next version of yourself, and become, you know, just that next level and see that potential and step into that. So, and then the publishing process to me, I feel like I lean away from bestsellers because it's ego driven. Like, yeah, okay, you get like bestseller badge and you get to brag about that in conversation, but how is that actually, you can't ever reconnect with those readers unless they come up to you at some point in your life and say, hey, I read your book, that was really great,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's like, okay, well, this is all backwards anyway. So I like that. I thank you for speaking to that because my publishing house is really to empower women and people who feel marginalized or silenced, but also like the power of a book in actually expanding your territory and your life in a way that's not stroking an ego or giving you an award that can be burned tomorrow. It's in a real tangible way. You can see where your readers, where your clients, where their journey is actually unfurling like the fern, and you can watch in real time as they expand and open up. So I just think that's so beautiful. So
Yes,
okay,
and I love that you're providing this service. I think it's so valuable what you're putting out in the world, Leslie, because there are so many people that you are offering this service to that otherwise would not have their voices heard. So thank you for the work that you do. I really appreciate you.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's been scary, but I think just speaking to what you said, sometimes it doesn't make sense, like, and what our vision is in the beginning. I think with you writing the book and me just starting this publishing company, you do always have those thoughts in the back of your head, like, who are you to do this thing? Just because you know how to publish or just because you know how to do this thing, who are you to do this and take on these giant industry giants? But I knew that I knew that I knew that my angels and my guides were telling me this is your path. It may not make sense. And the resistance that comes up is spiritual warfare. The only thing I can tell you is that I was fighting a battle internally to just get to this place where I could help people like you, and so thank you for saying that because it's oftentimes you have to look back, and see you're so in it, right? You're so in the battle that you cannot see the progress that you've made moving forward.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so I appreciate that.
You've come a long way for sure.
All right, love. So tell us where we can find you, for anybody that's listening and wants to find more of you, or any retreat information or.
Yeah. So the easiest place to find me is at darcieziel.com, and we can put that in the notes too. So that's my website, and I have links to the book on there and the book club if anyone's interested in that. That'll be starting in September. I also have a group coaching container that's starting in September. It's called Joyful Little Life, and it's really about getting to a place in our nervous system where we can tap into joy and have that be more of our baseline that we are moving from. So that's a 3-month program that starts in September. I also do one-to-one coaching, and then I do retreats. This coming retreat is in July, but that one's full. So but that's on my, so you can keep checking that and see what is coming up. But I'm excited for this next year.
Oh, And your retreats are on my list. It seems to always fall on Carrie's deployment windows. So, but for y'all listening, Darcie has retreats in remote Alaska. So she actually flies you. You fly into what, Anchorage, and then you fly them into these locations.
Juneau, actually. Yeah, it's in Southeast
Okay.
Alaska. So, yeah, you fly into Juneau and then fly on a float plane out to a remote community. And yeah, just that nature immersion and unplugging from our
Yeah.
everyday life and tapping into that creativity.
Yeah, and in Alaska in July, it's literally probably the most magical place I've ever been in the summer. So, um, all right. Well, Darcie, I've enjoyed every minute of this, and I hope that everyone here has enjoyed it too. Reach out to us. I'll put everything in the show notes so that they can reach out to you at darcieziel.com. Her book is on Amazon, both of them. And there's information in there as to her other offerings. The book is Reconnect to the Wild Within, Seasonal Practices to Embody Your Primal Nature. And then the companion journal as well. So, all right, Darcie,
Thanks so
have
much,
an amazing day.
Leslie.
This was so amazing. I love talking to you, and I hope everybody has an amazing day.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.